World is on location in the Kingdom of Morocco. It's a country of 36 million people in northern Africa, located on both the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. The people are warm and friendly and welcoming. The country is safe, and nobody complains about the beautiful weather. Morocco has it all: mountains, beaches, the desert, and of course the famous cities of Casablanca, Marrakesh, Fez, Tangier, and many, many more. Over the next few programs, we'll experience Morocco's splendid culture, learn about its very ancient history, visit stunning tourist attractions, and see why Morocco is a major international trading center. We began our time in Morocco at the Museum of History and Civilization in Rabat. Rabat is the capital city, and we learned a simple and astounding piece of information. I have my eye on something at the top of the stairs here.
Oh, that's very interesting item. That's the witness of the existence of humanity in Morocco. And of course, we will see the skull of the first Homo sapien in this part of the museum. Here it is, and you can even see the date, 315,000 years ago.
315,000 years ago?
Yes.
My word.
So, this was found in north of Marrakesh, in the region of Safi, which changed the history of humanity, because the oldest one before this was in South Africa. Then now we have Morocco, has a new record in the history.
So people forget that we're in Africa.
Absolutely.
People forget that.
Yes, absolutely.
But this date, 315,000 years ago.
Yes, before this date.
So when we're talking about the culture and the history of Morocco, you go back way back, huh?
Absolutely. It's a lot to count.
Now, is this authentic, or is this a copy, or what?
No, this is a copy. The original is in the Ministry of Culture. Okay.
So the original is in the Ministry of Culture here in Morocco.
Absolutely, and this is just a copy, because this is a museum, so they are keeping this copy.
Africa, Europe, and the Middle East are all huge cultural influences on Morocco. The main religion is Islam, yet freedom of religion is guaranteed to all. America's perception of Islam, unfortunately, misses its more positive message.
The whole problem of wisdom now should be focused on this problem. Transform pleasure from having, acquiring, consuming to giving. Giving not only from a wealthy state, no, giving of yourself. And the good word, saying assalamu alaikum, for example, in Islam it's giving. If you smile, you are giving. If you embrace someone, it's giving. It's not only for the wealthy people, for all people. I mean, each one has something to give, which has the same value as the other giving of others.
It seems that every single person has a special gift, don't you think?
The person is a gift itself. Himself.
Nice.
We are a gift, and we have to continue giving because we are given.
The automotive and aeronautics sectors are major pillars of Morocco's economy, financial growth, and development. More than 150 American companies are already operating in Morocco, and as far as seeking new investments, Morocco's door is wide open.
So what we offer here in Morocco is a sustainable production. We invested massively in renewable energy and allow a decarbonized production here in Morocco. We offer a competitiveness because we invested on the people, the infrastructure, the logistics, the free trade agreements. So we can produce in a competitive manner and have access to a lot of markets without taxes. We are well proven, that's what we said. We have a long history in successful sector development. We have the automotive, we have the aerospace, we have built Tanger Med, I think you have seen it. We showed how we can achieve and success in big projects, and we are agile. That's what I was saying. Agility is something really important now, and Morocco has it in its DNA. We showed how agile we can be to manage crisis during COVID and give all the requirement needed by our population. And companies, when they invest here, they can see how agile people are to quickly manufacture plants, to quickly develop their skills, to adapt the changing world.
Morocco boasts a skilled and trained for the job workforce, offers top-notch infrastructure, and its location on the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean make Morocco an international trading center. Tangier Port Med, already a success and still expanding, is the largest port in Africa.
Something that should be covered, and that was the willing of His Majesty the King and the willing of the government and our people, our teams, is to make sure that this superb tool is not only a tool, logistical tool. It has to serve the country in itself. It has to serve creating employment. And what is maybe important for you to keep in mind is that this whole story is only 12 years old. It's still a baby. This port, although it is the biggest in the Mediterranean Sea and the biggest in Africa, but in the lifetime of a port, 12 years is a baby. Yeah. Ports usually compare themselves over centuries of existence. And this port today, with the industry behind that we created in our Tangier Med zone, have managed to attract 1,000 companies that created 90,000 jobs. And that's very important, because when you speak in Morocco about 90,000 jobs, you can imagine how many families behind are living out of this.
Oh, yes.
And that's probably the most important added value for us that have been created within this whole ecosystem.
To introduce the Kingdom of Morocco to our viewers across the United States, I spoke with the U.S. Consul General to Casablanca. His name is Lawrence Randolph. Stay tuned after the break for our interview. This is America, and the world visits the Kingdom of Morocco. So good to be with you today.
Very great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You have a special title, U.S. Consul General to Casablanca.
That's right.
Fascinating title. What's the background of that particular job? What are the responsibilities?
Thank you. We in Casablanca are really responsible for strengthening our relationship with the Moroccan government. You know, diplomats all over the world are placed in countries to really grow and work on strengthening bilateral relationships, both with the country politically, but also with the people socially and culturally. So in Casablanca, we have a pretty large setup. We work on all kinds of consular issues for the entire country of Morocco. We do all of the visas and immigration for people who want to go to the United States. We also, all of the American citizens, we have thousands of American citizens that live here in Morocco. We are, you know, we take care of their safety and security and help them when they have little issues here. We also host the commercial service in the consulate. So there are about 150 American companies operating here, and we help them when we can understand Morocco. If there are little hiccups that they have, we help them try to smooth those hiccups out. We also help Moroccan business people who are interested in investing and doing business in the United States. So the parameter of the work that we do is pretty large in the consulate, not to mention all of the social and cultural things that we're doing to expand just bilateral relations between our two people, Moroccan and American people.
Let's step back for a second. Mm-hmm. What should Americans know about Morocco?
That's a good question. Americans should know about Morocco that first, a little bit of history, that we have this incredibly historic relationship.
Please, tell the folks back home, huh?
Happy to do that, happy to do that. This year specifically, we're celebrating over 200 years of friendship, we're calling it. We have this, I think you met with my colleague, a friend of mine actually in the north in Tangiers, Jen,
yes,
who is running the American legation there, and it's the 200th anniversary of that building. It was gifted to us by Sultan Moulay Suleiman, in 1821, so 200 years ago, and it has just been a kind of lasting beacon, really, of our relationship. Morocco was one of the first countries to recognize our independence. We have one of the longest lasting treaties, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship with Morocco, that we have with any country in the world. And we've just continued to build on that for over 200 years. We have also a free trade agreement with the government of Morocco. It's the only free trade agreement that we have with any country on the continent of Africa, and it has really created thousands of jobs for both Americans and Moroccans. It's grown trade by fivefold, over $5 billion of trade going back and forth between our countries. So I think that Americans should know that Morocco, one, is a beautiful country, but we also have an incredibly robust economic, political, social relationship with this country.
36 million people here?
Yes.
Influences African, European, Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
I'm impressed that people identify themselves just as Moroccans, with a great deal of pride. Can you talk about that and those influences?
Yeah. It's fascinating to me. I've spent a lot of time in the region. I've been a diplomat for around 20 years. And Morocco is such a fascinating place because of that incredible diversity. I mean, everything from, definitely West African influences in the music and Ganawa music and other music, European influences, maybe in Andalou music coming from the north of the country. You have, and obviously the really incredibly rich Arab and Berber cultures, Amazigh cultures here that have all kind of worked together to make Morocco just an incredibly fascinating and beautiful country. So you're right, it is the diversity here is just really, really spectacular, actually. And it makes it easier then for Morocco, especially under this government, right? They've really tried to position themselves under the leadership of Mohammed VI as the gateway to Africa. And I think because they have so many different influences, they are able to, and they've worked very hard to establish free trade agreements with the United States, with Europe, with a number of African countries, with the Middle East. It really makes it easier to exploit those economic ties and really be a center point for all kinds of trade and political relationships going in all kinds of directions. So,
what do you think? This occurs to me all the time. What do you think Americans and American business, especially, is missing about the potential of more investment in Africa?
That's a good question. I would say that specifically in Morocco, because of the strategic location, we're so close to Europe. We're so close to, obviously, they're really great. There we have this amazing port in Tangiers, Tangier Med, one of the largest ports in the world. They are also really very much, Royal Air Maroc flies all over the continent of Africa. So there are all of these links that really make Morocco a very good focal point for the continent. And I think there's all of this room for growth in American companies in Africa, I think, and specifically in Morocco. I think, the companies that we speak to here, I visit, a lot of my job is visiting the American companies and figuring out ways in which we could help with their business or, different issues that they might have. And so all of the companies, from Fruit of the Loom to, I'm trying to think, all of the aeronautic things that we do here, Boeing, exactly. The list goes on and on. There's 150 of them, right? So they're always overwhelmingly positive about the workforce. People want to work, how easy people are to train and get up to speed, and they're task. Really, it's been incredible to see just the depth of, I mean, a very incredibly trained workforce too. I mean, really great engineers with Boeing and the aerospace sector. It was really heartwarming for me to walk in and see so many women engineers really running large sectors of the aeronautics field. You know, I think people might have an image of women in the region, and going and meeting these like women engineers running large sectors of very complicated engineering sectors here was just, it was really, it spoke a lot without actually them having to say anything.
You referenced a little earlier in the conversation almost 20 years as a diplomat, and thank you for your service to our country and collectively our country. Huh? Yeah. I was talking with Jerome and Travis on your team, and I said, looking at your resume, there's only about 3 countries you haven't served in. But tell folks a little bit about different postings you've had.
So I started my career in Cairo. So my first assignment was in Cairo, Egypt. After Cairo, I spent a little time in Damascus and then went to Saudi Arabia for my next assignment, where I did economic work. And as diplomats, most of our first assignments, almost every American diplomat, we start off doing consular work and American citizen service. So we really learn the core reason why we're in any country is to protect the interests of American citizens. So it's important for us to have a really strong basis in that. So my first assignment in Egypt was doing exactly that. I went on to Saudi Arabia in the eastern province to do some economic work, and then worked in Afghanistan and Algeria and Germany. I'm forgetting some places in the United States and Libya a little bit. So a lot of places in the middle, but mostly in this region. After that assignment in Cairo and studying Arabic, I really fell in love with this region and just the language and the culture, and have been really fortunate to spend all of this time in this part of the world.
I gather you speak 4 languages.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
As an American, I speak English. We're very sheltered.
Yeah,
We're very sheltered, or at least I am.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the advantage of being a person of color in Morocco, in the region, and your own African-American background. Huh?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, with everything, there are pluses and minuses. I think sometimes, you know, I walk in, my name is Lawrence Randolph, so a very kind of Anglophone name. And when I walk into rooms, sometimes they're like, okay, we weren't expecting you, but I'm like, well, I'm here. But, you know, I have to say specifically here in Morocco, the reception that I've had has been incredibly warm and welcoming. You know, people are just great. It's a very, you know, in Morocco, there are people that look like, you know, me, darker than me, lighter than me. You know, it's really such a diverse country from the north to the south. You get different phenotypes and people looking like different things. So it's been great. It's, you know, my specific background, you know, obviously does shape the way in which I see the world, right? As an African American and as a minority in my country, I'm obviously a little bit more thoughtful about being a minority in a space. So when I had the opportunity to learn about different groups, you know, minority groups in Morocco or different parts of the culture that might not be as known internationally, I'm always super interested. Like, what are those people doing over there? Like, what's happening in this part of the country that might not be as well visited? So I think, you know, we just bring our own lens, and that's mine. Does
it give you an entree, however, into facets of this culture?
Yeah, I think so. I remember once I had the honor of accompanying Nawal al-Mutawakkil, who is one of the first African Arab Muslim women to win a gold medal in the Olympics in LA, actually. She did her studies in Iowa in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And we were on a sports caravan where she does sporting events, and specifically for young girls in rural parts of the country where it might not be socially and culturally as well accepted for girls to be really participating in sports. And so she's really trying to get people moving all over the country. So I accompanied her on this trip that she was doing in the South, way in the South. And most of the people in this one part of the town looked like me. And we were sitting for dinner And one of the officials who came to welcome us, you know, he sits next to me and he grabs my arm and he was like, "I'm so happy you're here." He was like, you know, to see you looking like me, running a U.S. mission abroad, he was like, "It makes me proud." And I was like, "Thank you." You know, I'm also happy to be here representing my country, learning about you, and how we can partner even more and grow and learn from each other. So I think it does, you know, again, you know, people bring a host of diversity in our diplomatic corps, and, you know, my specific story does, you know, does add a specific lens on how I view the country and how I interact with people here.
You have a lovely neighbor, a little dog next door, but not so little, I would assume, from the sound of it. But I think of that as natural sound.
Yes.
You know, it's there. What can we take away from our conversation? That the interview is over. You're tending now to the family. What you say? He didn't ask me that question, or, "Boy, I wish I would have said that." Take a second and just say, you know, what is that one piece of information or message that you'd like to get across?
I guess I would say we just have an incredibly rich relationship with the country of Morocco. We cooperate on all kinds of things, from political and economic, commercial, security. Really just the gambit of things that we're working on with the Moroccan government is really vast. And so it's been very nice to be part of this story. You know, it's a 200-year story of Moroccan-American relationships, over 200 years actually. Everything from the free trade agreement that we have, to this legation that we have in Tangiers, to this, you know, in Casablanca we also have an American library, American space called Dar America. Dar in Arabic means home. And generations of Moroccans have learned English and had interactions with Americans there. And I just feel really honored to be able to lead this mission of really brilliant Americans and Moroccans working to bring our countries closer together. And I also feel really honored to be in this beautiful country. It's so diverse. And if there's any wish that I would have for Americans watching this, is that you should come and visit. Moroccans are incredibly hospitable. It's such a diverse country. From the north, where you have the Mediterranean beaches and the Atlantic beaches, you have desert and ocean and mountains, and the food. There's such, I think you've experienced this, a very rich culinary tradition. I think people know possibly tagines and couscous, but all kinds of interesting other dishes. My favorite is rafisa. Remember that if you come. Order rafisa when you're here.
What is it?
It's a very nice dish with crepes, like at the bottom, something like a crepe, and then this chicken, lentil, vegetable, spicy stew that they put over it. Anyway, it's delicious, trust me.
I could tell your enthusiasm.
I'm a fan. But yeah, again, you know, I just feel very fortunate to be able to continue this tradition of American diplomats that we've been here for over 200 years, serving and growing this relationship. And I think you also know that we have this beautiful, in Casablanca, where I have the honor of serving, we're building a new consulate, actually. So it's even investing in the relationship even that much more. So I'm looking, in Arabic you say lokbal, like we look forward to even more. So I look forward to even 200 years of continued relationships with Morocco, and even more than that. So I just feel very lucky.
I heard something about some art exhibit that is now here, and it's on its way to Washington.
That's right, that's right. So we, this year, given the huge anniversary of 200 years, we created a beautiful exhibition that was here in Rabat, where we are right now, in the National Library for about 3 months. Right now, it's in Casablanca at the Salawi Foundation, and it's an absolutely gorgeous exhibit. Everything from, we have Jimi Hendrix boots in this exhibit, and actually, it's moving to Washington, D.C. In late January, early February, I believe, and I hope that people in the United States also get a chance to experience it. I think it's going to be at the Diplomacy Center, but stay tuned, like follow our social media at the consulate, and we'll be able, and the embassy, and we'll be able to give you more information about where it will be.
Terrific. Thank you for our conversation.
Thank you.
Just terrific.
Thank you.